Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Liberation is Lit podcast, where the power of storytelling meets the force of social change. I'm your host, Taylor Simon, and this podcast, we believe in the profound impact of stories. And I'm excited to be here today with some bindery influencers slash imprint managers. I think is that your title? We'll
Works
go
for
over
me.
titles in a second. Titles. But I am so excited to be joined by Naomi, Martinez, and Michael to talk about why they wanted to start their imprints with Bindery, a little bit about what they do with Bindery, and how they are pushing the needle forward to promote different stories. So, hey, y'all, how y'all doing today?
Doing
Good.
great.
Doing wonderful.
Good. So, to kick us off, can you each tell us a little bit about yourself as a book influencer and why you decided to work with Bindery in this way? And what do you love most about the work you do with Bindery?
Absolutely. As an influencer, I like to talk about books that bring change for Black and brown people. That's all I care about. I don't care about the genre. I mean, I care a little bit. But I tackle everything. I want progress. And for me, Bindery was an opportunity to do things differently because I don't know, like anyone who listening, if you watch my content, you know I've got a bone to pick with publishers. But Bindery wanted to do something that I thought was disruptive. And I was like, I really like breaking things. I would love to be a part of that. So that's really why I jumped in.
So I've been making content on social media for the last 15 years. I've been everywhere, all over platforms, and I kind of always find myself back to books and media, storytelling in general. So that's kind of where my passion is just bringing a critical and thoughtful lens to the things that we use as entertainment. My challenge to my audience has always been to think about the things that we read, whether or not they're for fun or for the vibes. There's a level of there being responsibility to ourselves and to our audience to also think about the things that we consume. And so from there, I also did some freelance work as an editor. And so when I heard about Bindery, it just really felt like a natural progression for me for like everything that I've done in this space and me as a content creator. And I thought it really just sounded fun, to be honest, to be in on the ground floor of this project. So I reached out to them and I was like, hey.
I have been making book content probably for a little bit of over 2 years. And my content has focused on uplifting Indigenous authors. And I read in every genre, but I especially love horror. And I've become really passionate about women writing horror because I feel like it's a genre that has long been dominated by men. And when I had the opportunity to talk with Bindery, I jumped at it. It was right around the time, I think, when Danica Nava's first novel was coming out. And I was like, wow, there really only is one Indigenous rom-com on the shelves right now. What can we do to get more? So I jumped at this opportunity because I would love to be a place where Indigenous authors can submit their work and know that their story is going to be championed.
And that's kind of how I started Liberation is Lit. I started kind of like all of you. I never grew my platform as big as y'all's, but I wanted to talk about the stories that get us proximate to these large social justice and liberation sites that we're so used to thinking in statistics and policy. And I wanted to show the stories behind, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, the stories behind the people who these things affect every day. And so I went a totally different route and just started a bookstore. So I love just being able to share books with people and sell books that way. So my next question for you all is, tell us a little bit about your imprint specifically and the kinds of books that you love to champion through your imprints, and a book that is coming from your imprint that you're really excited about.
I'll go first. So my imprint is Bougie Books. When I started the imprint, my vision was I wanted to be a space for Indigenous writers to submit their work. And I found out that that is going to be a little bit more challenging because, there aren't a lot of Indigenous writers out there. And so I'm doing a lot of work on the back end, reaching out to community members to help grow the amount of submissions that I get. And I decided to open up to women in horror as well because I saw that they were underrepresented. So my first book is actually a horror book. It's a YA horror fantasy that I'm super excited about. It is coming out fall of 2026.
Yay. My answer is really similar to the last one. I'm very passionate about anything Black and brown. I think that in general, we have to fight harder to get into these spaces. And then once we're in them, we're not championed as passionately. And my goal was to use this as an opportunity to champion Black and brown people harder than anyone else is being championed. I'm very excited I have my first book with my imprint coming out next month, Cry Voidbringer. I'm very excited about that. That is a dark fantasy that feels very dystopian. It's not a dystopian, but like when you get in there, you're going to feel it. So I'm very excited about that book.
My imprint is called Mareas, and my approach is, I think, a little bit different. I've always been somebody who reads very widely across genres, so I knew that I didn't want to be genre specific. And because the basis of my platform has always been about a critical approach to media, I wanted my whole thing has been finding books that make you think. I can't guarantee you're gonna love or hate this book, but I can guarantee that it is thematically rich and that when you walk away from it, it's going to invite you to think deeper about the world around you. So those are kind of the leading things that I look for when I'm looking through manuscripts. And my very next book that I'm going to publish is called Orange Wine by Esperanza Hope Snyder. And it is Latine realism. And it is deeply in conversation with the magical realism titles of its predecessors. And it is just very much a look about life in Bogota in the early 20th century and what women had to do to find a life for themselves full of passion and art and family.
And I know all of you Bindery in general has this theme of disrupting traditional publishing, and all of you really want to champion the voices that are very represented in publishing in general. So I wanted to ask, what is something that you want listeners to know about supporting indie publishing, supporting indie authors? That it could be the message that you say all the time on your social media, but what is something that you really want listeners to know about why they should be supporting indie publishers and indie authors?
I think that something that we've seen through traditional publishing over the last couple of years is how much the mid-list is shrinking and how much that traditional publishing, Big Five, is going to continue to chase down the rabbit hole of dollars. And so it's really flattening all of the titles that we see into just kind of the same thing over and over. Not to say that it's everything that's out there, because there's still mid-list, people are still publishing, but the amount of support and the amount of marketing dollars that are just going into trying to get the next big bestseller is it's really, really wild the way that is going in, even with things with placement at bookstores, that is changing. There's just so much that is giving way to only having a very limited number of stories. And it's a little frightening because I think that it's making books worse in general. It's just making books worse. And so what I would love people to know is that, it's unfortunate that it has to be this way, but we kind of really have to actively fight against this. And I think that there's a way that we can become passive in our own media consumption and in our own buying habits, right? And we just kind of surface level, let ourselves be sort of drawn in by that tide, only reading things that are the most popular and only engaging with things in a very superficial level. But authors, indie publishers, creators really need active engagement. We need you to do more than just kind of see the post and like it, right? There is that element of having to invest time and invest energy and really curating your spaces and making sure that you're being an active participant and making publishing and books better and not worse by, just kind of going with that flow.
And I think for me, it's very similar. I say all the time that literature has the power to change the world, and I firmly believe that. I think if you look through history, every movement of liberation and oppression has centered art, especially literature. And I think that it's not an accident that as a whole, the publishing industry gatekeeps what stories are being told. And I think one of the things that is very important for me when it comes to conversations about indie publishing specifically is that we stand in the way of what is being pushed by our culture and what is being pushed onto our culture for the future. And it's very important that readers understand that and that they are aware that when you are investing in the voices of marginalized people who are the ones being left out, you are investing in a narrative of change that is important for the world. So, like, fighting for indie authors is a way to fight for progress.
And I also think that it's important that we do the work, because if we don't do the work, who else is? I think Michael mentioned it earlier. Even when authors of color are getting these traditionally published deals, they're set up with like one marketing person, and that one marketing person has multiple books that they're focusing on. And once they determine pretty early on which one they think is going to be the bestseller, they're throwing everything into that book, and
Mhm.
literally everybody else is getting left behind. So I think we're in a really unique situation where we're getting to pick the stories that we fall in love with, and we get to champion, and then we get to motivate our communities who have put this faith in us to also support these books in a way that I don't think that authors have been supported before.
Yeah, I hear that often from authors at Bindery is that I don't know if I'll be able to get this experience again.
Yeah. And I think the way that the world is going,
Yeah.
what we do may become even more important, depending on the routes that publishing chooses to take and the decisions they end up making.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. And as a self-published author, I've been very hesitant to enter the publishing world because I know, like, I'm a Cancer. I'm sensitive, and I know, like, my story is not going to be seen as marketable or universal or palatable in a lot of spaces, and I know that affects the way that just somebody like a marketing director or representative is going to talk about and sell my book to book bookstore owners. I've been kind of on the other side of going to the American Bookseller Association's conferences where I'm just like, I'm tired of, okay, like, you don't have to push so hard. Like, Sarah J. Maas is going to sell herself. Like, yeah,
A
like, I
one-hit
wanna
book.
hear
Yeah.
yeah, I wanna hear about, like, different books and perspectives, and they keep talking about the same ones over and over, and I have so much beef with, like, the ret picks and speed dating, and I'm just like, "Okay, where are the diverse options? Like, where are the Black and brown folks? Where are the indigenous voices? Like, where are the disabled voices? Where are the queer voices? Where are the trans voices?" And it's like, "Oh, there's, like, 1 or 2, maybe a season."
Yeah.
And even in reading Toni Morrison's biography, Toni at Random, thinking about how she had to make the conscious decision of, like, okay, we can't have 2 Black books competing in a season because we don't want to undercut each other in the sales for each of the books. And so, like, it feels so icky with publishing in that way, and I know some of you talked about just, like, how bookstores are selling books, and I know I have my own struggles because I mostly use books for financial reasons, but I even in bookstores and, like, the Barnes& and Nobles and, like, even the bigger indie bookstores, like, okay, they're gonna put out the books that sell better,
Mhm.
and that affects people's ability to see more diversity and champion these voices. So I know this work can be hard and
Mhm.
disheartening sometimes, especially with the state of the world. So what keeps each of you grounded and keeps you moving forward in this work?
For me, it is that I know I get messages at least once a week from an author who is telling me the way that a video I made changed their life. Like, you put me on the map, you got a book box picked me up because they saw your video. I sold 100 copies and now I've sold I get those messages all the time. And for me, it's the thousands of authors who I know might not come across another person with influence who will read an indie book, who will read a Black book, who will read a brown book. And so I'm very motivated knowing that there are so many authors waiting for their turn. and how much progress will be lost if they don't get it. And also it's the fact that I know that there are those bookstores who would be fighting for change if they just understood that if they made it their brand, people would get on board. So I find it very motivating knowing that I can create conversations that convince readers to be loud about the fact that they will show up if the businesses with the power to put those books in front of them will fight for them.
I think for me, kind of approaching this from a different angle, especially because I've been doing this for so long. And like the reason that I've seen people that I started YouTube with come and go, and I've seen people who I started TikTok with come and go. And the reason that I've been able to stay making this content for so long is because I've given myself the like ability and the grace to take breaks when I need them. When you are doing sort of any sort of social justice work or any sort of work in this realm, it can be very easy to burn yourself out. And so I think that building a community around yourself that you know that if you're in this for the long haul, that like there are times that I have to tap it out and you tap in and I need a break and I need to go touch some grass and I need to go talk to my in real life community for a second because the internet can also be kind of overwhelming at points. Like that ability to balance, because it is more important, I think, that you're in it, in this work and in this fight for the long haul rather than just kind of burning out bright. So I think that keeps me motivated as well, as like being able to say, okay, I've got a long kind of journey ahead of me. I need to be able to know when it's time to fight, when it's time to rest, when it's time for my voice and when it's time for somebody else's.
I think that for me, it's a little bit different because I feel like I cannot rest at all because, and it could be just the pressure that I put on myself. When I think about other Indigenous book creators in this space, I can probably count them on two hands total. So I feel a bit like if I'm not going to be talking about these books, who is going to be talking about these books? And, I don't wanna stop, but I do try to get outside and touch grass. As someone who the luxury of living next to the ocean and the mountains and the forest, I do try to get out a lot to do it, but I'm always coming back pretty quickly.
I love that. And yeah, it is trying to find that balance between making sure these voices get heard and are represented when nobody else seems to be doing it, and also taking care of yourself for you to be able to be there in the long run. And I know I have my challenges around that as well. And I'm trying to figure out the things that I can say no to so I can like keep saying yes to things. And of course, I can imagine reading is a part of a lot of your self care. So,
Honestly,
what
no.
is okay? Yeah. At the
Reading
same
is so
time,
much
it's
pressure
stressful.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that because there's like some books I have to read a book for book club tomorrow, and I'm like 20% in. And I'm just
Mm,
like,
been there.
we'll see if we get this done. Thank God the author is coming, so I don't have to come up with facilitation
That's so
questions.
funny.
Yeah. But what is something that you've been reading lately, whether it's I know you can't talk about a lot of upcoming titles yet, but what is something that you've been reading lately, whether it's like something you're excited about for submissions or just something in general that you've been reading that
I
doesn't give
am
you pressure?
I am actually reading a really exciting submission I can't say about, so for everybody pay attention. But I actually just read a book called Love Be Damned by Ashley Garrett, I believe her name is. That book was so weird. I loved it. I loved it. It is about a fashionista who has to become a demon hunter to save her sister from a boyfriend who's been replaced by a shape-shifting demon. It's so fascinating.
I'm going to sound like Naomi here, but I actually just finished reading, or well, I'm in the middle of the third book of an interconnected series. So it is Firekeeper's Daughter and Sisters in the Wind and Warrior Girl on Earth by Angeline Booley. And I'm in the middle of Warrior Girl on Earth, and I've just been sobbing my way through these books. They're so, so well done, so thoughtful, so tender, so earnest, so page turning. And like every time I'm like, surely there's not another way that this woman can rip my heart out. She's like, yes, I can. And I'm like, cool, cool, cool.
100%. I just finished Sisters in the Wind like a few days ago. So I really love Angeline Boulley because I feel like when you read her series, I love that they're all interconnected, but like you don't have to read the one before necessarily. But by the third one that just came out this year, I would actually recommend people do read the ones before because there's like little, they all kind of connect, and I feel like it's a richer experience
Yeah.
when you have them. And her stories just keep getting better and better.
Agreed.
So
You need to read those.
Yeah, the Firekeeper's Daughter's been on my list forever, but I'm also, like everybody else, kind of obsessed with K-pop Demon Hunters, so I'm gonna put that Love Be Damned on my list too. So, and I've been just doing, at first I used to like run in the mornings and I was just like, this doesn't actually give me joy. So I've been like taking like hot girl walks and listening to my audiobooks, and it's been amazing and it's so much better for my mental health. And like, I'm not like, I don't want to run. I'm just going to go to sleep. I'm just like, ooh, I'm going to go listen to my audiobook and walk.
Audiobook walks are literally the best. And I try to do them often by myself, but recently like groups in my area have been putting together like a get together so you can meet other book lovers and do your own audiobook. And I just think that's a really cool way to build book community around yourself.
Yeah.
So I've just finished Sisters of the Wind. I also recently finished The Serviceberry by Robin Wall Kimmerer. And one of my goals this year is to read more Indigenous nonfiction because I've read a ton of Indigenous fiction, but I haven't read that much nonfiction. And this is a great book to help you touch grass.
Definitely. And my last question for you all today is, what advice would you offer listeners who want to make a positive impact in their communities?
Mm.
Buy all of the books from our imprints and buy copies to give away to your neighbors.
I think specifically to people who want to make a difference in the book community, support the people who are doing the work, the first step. And by that, I obviously don't just mean us and what we're doing, though what I think we're doing is very important. But I mean supporting authors as well, traditionally published authors. The best thing that you can do is pre-order books. I don't think we talk enough about how important pre-ordering is, especially for marginalized authors. It can make a huge difference on their book's journey.
I would agree with supporting the people doing the work. And that's like from the perspective of, if there's something that you're really passionate about that you want to make content around or support or anything along those lines, it's very easy to like feel like nobody's talking about this. I'll be the one. But I can guarantee you that there's someone out there talking about it. And so there is so much worth in like trying to go and find the person who is already talking about this, one, to support them. And that doesn't mean that you're also not going to join the work and make the content, but so that you also know, okay, where are the gaps? Where can I help the most? What is my voice going to add to this versus just kind of doubling the voice instead of knowing when to pass the mic and where to fill in gaps. Like, I think that's so important in community building. So just knowing who's doing the work, supporting them, and knowing like what your fit and your role into all of that, I think is super important.
I would also say, for me, the thing that I really encourage people to do is to read indie. Not exclusively, but read indie. There is so much change that can happen in this industry that will not happen until we collectively change our mind about indies. That's where most of the Black women are. And we already know we're not getting to progress without them. So go read their freaking books, talk about their books, re-examine whatever standards you've decided for yourself that make you go, when you see an indie, fix it.
Agreed for all of that. Thank y'all so much for spending this time with me on the podcast. Where can people find each of you and keep up with your work and the releases that you have for your imprints?
So I am at My Name is Marinas all over the internet. You can find me there on social media sites, but my home base is on Bindery, and that's mareas.binderybooks.com. So there you'll find all the information about my upcoming releases, cross posts to all the things that I post online.
My base is Bindery as well, and it is leftunreadbooks.binderybooks.com. Sorry it's so long, but you can find me everywhere on the internet at michael.laborn.
And I am everywhere on the internet as From the Mixed Up Desk. The link to my bindery is there. My bindery is boujou.binderybooks.com. So for the spelling, go follow me on Instagram.
And I will post all of the links to the social media and the Bindery websites where you can follow. And I want to say there's free options to follow and keep up with updates too. Yes. So there's free options if you can't, like me, if the coins aren't looking right for right now. There's ways to support and share and amplify this work that is free 99. So I will place all those links. And speaking of the pre-orders, I will post the pre-order links to Cry Voidbringer and Orange Wine in the show notes as well. And so thank you so much for being a part of the Liberation is Lit podcast. And thank you, listeners. If you have stories you want to share or want to suggest any topics or just want to connect with us, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Liberation is Lit, or visit our website, liberationislit.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a review. And remember, your voice matters. And together, through the lens of stories, we're going to make a difference in the world. Until next time.